And over to you, Director Harrington.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the month of August, but particularly to Tuesday, August 4th, 2026, the Washington County Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting. Clerk Moss, could you do us the formal honors, please?
Certainly, Director Harrington. The Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting this regular session, August 4th, 2026. Director Fye?
I am present.
Director Treese?
Here.
Director Schneider?
Here.
Vice Chair Willie?
Here.
Chair Harrington?
Here.
And I'll announce Director Serrar will try to join but is on a tour, so I'll keep an eye out.
Thank you very much. Just when we're in a topic, let us know at a convenient place if he's able to join. Next up on our agenda is the first public communication opportunity for today's meeting. This is an opportunity for members of the community to testify for up to 2 minutes an individual on anything related to Housing Authority business. Clerk Moss, is there anyone who wishes to do so?
Thank you, Director Harrington. I did not see anyone sign up in advance of this meeting. Is there anyone in the auditorium that provide comment for up to 2 minutes on any Housing Authority related topic? Just raise your hand, start coming forward. Not seeing any in the room. Is there any member online via Zoom that would provide public comment to Housing Authority? Give you just a moment to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hands, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. Next, we have today's consent agenda. We have one set of minutes, and we have a new lease. What are the wishes of the board regarding today's consent agenda?
Move to approve, Chair.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we have 2 different action items. The first one is to approve Housing Advisory Committee memberships. We have some new appointments and reappointments. And it appears we have a presentation. Now just waiting for our staff experts to come on up. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Chair. For the record, my name is Gabriela Duarte. I am the Community Relations Manager for the Housing Department. Did you have a question? Oh, I thought, okay. Wonderful, let's get underway. We have some new Housing Advisory Committee recommendations to review with you today. Let's see. So just a quick background on this specific committee. This is our Housing Advisory Committee, often called HAC. This is a really rich group of folks that come together. They help review plans and proposals for us and are really vital for shaping the funding and program direction of the work that we do as the Housing Authority. There are up to 15 members. It includes a great number of folks, a mix of opinions that serve a 4-year term with options for a second term. And this next slide here will show you who is currently engaged on the committee. And as I said, you'll see a really rich swath of folks from the community, whether they are service providers, architects, construction folks in the community. We even have banks and financial advisors on there as well, helping us lead this work. So it's important for us to make sure that we have a really great breadth of engagement with the community. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Emily, who will be telling you about the recruitment process and new members for recommendation.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Emily Roots. I'm the Public Relations Supervisor for the Department of Housing Services here at Washington County. And part of my role includes advisory bodies. So we did a really comprehensive recruitment process for the Housing Advisory Committee. We have the application that's available online. And then we also reviewed applicants for the Resident Advisory Board. This is kind of a subset of our advisory bodies that is specifically for resident participants within our programs. And it aligned really well because we were specifically looking for 2 candidates to appoint who had experience as residents within our program. So reviewed well over 40 applications, and we invited 8 for panel interviews, and we're able to select 2 candidates for new appointments, specifically for seats that are designated for resident participants, and then 2 current members who have been wonderful members of HAC who are being recommended as reappointments. Our first recommended appointment is Kevin Birch, and I will just say that even amongst the slew of applications I reviewed, he really stood out from the get-go. He has a really great experience, both in kind of like an operations and technology field, but then also kind of having this really challenging experience of homelessness where he really saw both sides of the system, if you will. So he today is housed thanks to a regional long-term rental assistance, and he also has his peer wellness specialist certification. And a big goal for him is to kind of take his lived experience as someone who lived within shelters, who has now a housing voucher, and think about how do we make our systems better. So stood out from the get-go. He's wonderful. We're really excited to recommend him for appointment. Our next recommended appointment is a familiar face to me. Stacy Rivera is a longtime participant on the Resident Advisory Board. So that is a more casual advisory body specifically for residents within our programs. And I think it was a great place for her to learn a lot about housing systems and our work as a housing authority. So that she can now transition to fulfilling her desire to be engaged on a broader stage with the Housing Advisory Committee. So she is a program supervisor with Morrison Child and Family Services. She's a longtime parent advocate. She has 14 years of lived experience in recovery and reunification. I will also just say she is a mom of 6. That really stood out in our interview process. So she understands, I think, some of the unique considerations that go into serving families, and particularly large families, which is something that can be challenging and is really important within our program so we can serve the most number of people possible. So those are our recommended appointments. Our reappointments, John Epstein and Nina Stafford have both been longtime participants on the Housing Advisory Committee. It's been a delight to work with both of them. John really brings incredible real estate finance experience. He is now retired, so he has a little bit more time to dedicate to the Housing Advisory Committee, which we really appreciate. He also has spent lots of time in volunteer roles with the Network for Oregon Affordable Housing, Urban League of Portland. He's got some roots in California, so the California Community Reinvestment Corporation. The list goes on. It's a long one. Nina Stafford is our other recommended reappointment. She is an event coordinator and interior design trained professional with experience in real estate, community service, volunteer coordination. So I think between these two folks, you kind of see both sides of the coin. John has that financial background. Nina is really fantastic at kind of bringing her interior design experience, which is really important within the affordable housing space. How we build and design affordable housing impacts the lives that people live within our programs. And then she also brings a lot of insight into community needs and the importance of stable, affordable housing from that grassroots engagement experience. So not only is she bringing her own expertise, she's talking to lots of people in the community and bringing that expertise as well, which is so important. Those are our appointments in a nutshell. I'll turn it back to Gabi.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Emily. And as you saw, again, inviting these incredible folks into our community engagement to help advise on the work that we're doing. So today, I bring to you this recommended action to approve the 2 new committee members, as well as review and approve the 2 reappointed members.
And these are for 4-year terms, correct?
Yes.
Board members, any questions or comments?
I'll make a motion.
I think it's pretty impressive. You had 40 applicants. We've got lots of board and committees that we kind of have to go out and recruit for, and you have 40 that want on your board. So that speaks volumes, I think, to the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I move to approve Housing Advisory Committee new appointments and reappointments of current members.
Second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to reappoint the 2 current HAC members, John Epstein and Nina Stafford, for 1 additional 4-year term, and to appoint 2 new HAC members, Kevin Birch and Stacy Rivera, to their first 4-year terms. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you. Directors, any opposed? The motion carries unanimously, 5-0.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And thank you for the great recruitment efforts as well. All right, next we'll move on to a proposal for the Housing Authority to write off accounts of past tenants in the low-rent public housing program. Please take it away.
Thank you, Chair Harrington and commissioners or board members. For the record, I'm Jill Chen, Deputy Director of the Housing Authority of Washington County, and with me, I'm joined by my colleague, Ryan Baumsbach, who's the Deputy CFO of the Housing Authority. We are here, like you mentioned, to write off the outstanding accounts for past due receivables. Slide, please. As background, your board in March adopted a new policy for the Housing Authority, clarifying thresholds and delegated authority for approving bad debt write-off. Based on the increase in move-outs due to the Section 18 disposition and post-COVID evictions for non-payment, the write-off for fiscal year 25-26 requires board approvals. The write-off procedure only clears the balance from our own accounting. HAWK continues to collection efforts through notices, repayment agreements, and listing the debt in the tenant check EIV national database, which is used by all housing authorities to screen prospective tenants. On that, I'll turn it to my colleague.
The proposed write-off for this year ending June 30 is $85,614. Just for context, this is about $2,000 lower than what last year's was. Over those past 2 years, we've seen the uptick that Jill mentioned as we've been prepping homes for sale under the Section 18 disposition. Of the write-off, it's divided quite evenly between damages and then late rent and other fees. And our proposed action for today would be to approve the write-off of tenants' past due accounts in low-rent public housing for fiscal year 25-26.
Are there any board questions or comments? I know I have one. Go ahead.
I'll just say that, it's a remarkably small amount given the scope of the agency, so I appreciate the diligence that's being put in to manage the properties and tenants tightly, et cetera.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my question is this. I appreciated the explanation that was provided, particularly in the topic sheet that the Housing Authority administers 184 units of low-rent public housing, and you've talked to us previously about the Section 18 disposition. You also mentioned that there have been 58 move-outs. So what I'm just wondering, it's all good. It's good to have that precise level of information. Thank you. But I'm wondering, in terms of the total write-offs, how many units approximately does it apply to? Does it apply to those 58 with the move-outs? Is that my right sort of number gauge, or something different? I'm just trying to make sure I'm connecting the dots, that's all.
I think it's applied to over a dozen residents or former residents. So out of the 58 that sort of moved out from Section 18, it's just a smaller portion of that.
Okay.
There's also some others which were not part of the Section 18.
Okay. Because you talked about how the outstanding fees are collected. So
Yes.
There's this larger universe, or there's the full universe, then there's the subset of move-outs, and then there's this smaller slice that is the write-offs. That's the clarification I was looking for. Thank you very much. Okay, and with that, do we have a motion to approve the write-off of past tenant accounts in low-rent public housing for fiscal year 2025-26, also known as FY26?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously, 5-0. And next, we're to our second public communication opportunity of today's Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting. This is an opportunity for members of our community to come and address the Board of Directors for up to 5 minutes an individual on anything related to the Housing Authority. Do we have anyone? Clerk Moss.
We do, Chair Harrington. We have Dale Feek. Mr. Feek.
Please keep your comments directly to what the Housing Authority does. Thank you.
I hope to show you that I'm doing that. You will be the judge, okay? Chair Harrington and Commissioners Dale Feek, Chair of the Washington County Citizen Action Network. And to Mike Savaro, who he may be on, maybe not, as a board of the Housing Authority. During the work session today, even though I came in late because I was preparing my public comments, Commissioner Snyder, you said you may not be attending some function because of health issues related to breathing, and we certainly have that problem. And I know the Housing Authority people living in those conditions need help too, as all of us do based upon the wildfire issues. I attended the Clean Water Services, your work session with them on Friday that was very informative. And following up with that, I wrote an email to the General Manager, Rahim Hajir, and Chair Harrington. And in doing that, I reviewed what I sent, and I realized I gave him a link to Washington County Citizen Action Network. And so I reviewed it myself in preparation to talk with him and to share a little bit about me and what I've been doing over quite a few years. In that, I found that I was interviewed by a podcast in 2020, Wildfires in the West in Our Backyard podcast. That was the Blue Ridge Environmental Defense League. And this relates to people living in housing in Washington County. Very important that services, that they have adequate things to protect themselves, know where to go. So this relates to the Housing Authority. And in 2020, fires in Oregon, this is what the summary of what I'm not the podcaster, I was interviewed. In 2020, fires in Oregon, Washington, California burned some 5 million acres, making the West Coast worst fire season in 70 years. The blazes killed at least 35 people, destroyed hundreds of structures, and caused extreme air pollution that threatened the health of millions of residents, including Housing Authority residents. Millions up and down the coast spent weeks living under thick clouds of smoke and ash. Ecologists also fear the wildfires could inflict lasting damage on species and ecosystems. Data from 2 NASA satellites that can detect heat shows that fire activity in Oregon, California, and Washington in 2020 eclipsed even the worst previous year. It's getting worse. Now we're in 2026. Dale Feek is chair of whatever that's, I'm project director, Washington County Citizen Action Network chair. I'm also the director of Hillsborough Air and Water, located in Washington County. And the podcaster talked with Dale about his experience with the wildfires in Portland, what work he's done to combat air pollution, how wildfires are linked with climate change, and what his hope for the future is. I encourage you to look at the email I sent you, take a look at the link. I hope that that Rahim will do the same. And that was Blue Ridge Environmental Defense League. I received an email on August the 3rd from the Environmental Quality, because I received the emails from them about that. So in what you have there, the quick facts, and they updated that, clarifying the Portland metro areas of Clackamas, Multnomah, and Washington counties. So if you skip down on the second page, it says smoke levels can change rapidly depending on weather. Check current conditions on the Oregon Smoke Information blog, DEQ's Air Quality Index, or by downloading the free Oregon Air app on your smartphone. I attempted to do that this morning. I ran out of time myself. So I'm going to have to go back and do that and share that with my family and friends. And I encourage anybody in the audience, anybody that's listening, to get on and get the link that I sent, or to go to DEQ and get that information. I assume the county gets that. If not, I hope you do, and share that information. They also talk about the masts, and I know Clean Water Services once proposed making masks that will filter those very small air particles. And they are N95 or P100 respirators approved. That didn't work out. They didn't make them. But it's important for people that don't have adequate places to go that they get their masks. And so I'm encouraging everybody that's listening to get informed, work with everybody to make people safe during this very unhealthy wildfire season that's just beginning. Thank you.
Clerk Moss, do we have anyone else who wishes to address the Housing Authority Board
I
of
did
Directors?
not see anyone else sign up in the auditorium. Is there anyone else in the auditorium who should provide public comment to the Housing Authority for up to 5 minutes? Just raise your hand, start coming forward. Not seeing any in the room. Is there any member online that wishes to provide public comment to the Housing Authority on any housing-related topic for up to 5 minutes? Give you just a second to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hands. Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. Do we have any board announcements for today? Seeing none, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn the Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, everyone. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. We will reconvene as the Washington County Board of Commissioners at approximately 10:32. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
All right, over to you, Chair Harrington.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Washington County Board of County Commissioners business meeting for this day, Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. Clerk Moss, could you do us the formal honors, please?
Certainly, Chair Harrington. The Washington County Board of Commissioners, also meeting as every other service district in the county, is meeting this regular session, August 4th, 2026. Commissioner Fye?
Present.
Commissioner Treese?
Here.
Commissioner Snyder?
Here.
Vice Chair Willie?
Here.
Chair Harrington.
Here. So, today's a slightly complicated day with our meeting. Today's agenda has a couple of items that were revised and an item that was added from our very first publication over a week ago. So on July 30th, we added topic F1 and revised 2 items on today's consent agenda. Also, I wanted to mention that with the public hearing on item F1, the proposed 2026 Strategic Investment Program, also known as SIP, between Washington County, the City of Tualatin, and Lamb Research Corporation, we will be holding a public hearing. Everyone who is signed up, and you can do so on the paper that Clerk Moss has, you get to provide your input for up to 2 minutes an individual. Then after that, we will have an action item, which is to conduct a first read of a proposed ordinance, and I will need to read a statement and ask for some board involvement before that item. All of this is to say that we may not have time for our second public comment period of the meeting, our 5-minute period. So it'll be touch and go. We have a hard stop of this meeting at 12:15, so we won't know until later in the meeting if we have time for that. So if you're dead set on that, I hope that you'll follow up and send your testimony to Clerk Moss for our benefit, but we'll see how it goes. Okay? All right. Next, for all of you who are able, I hope that you will stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, everyone. Now we have our first opportunity for public comment. This is an opportunity for members of our community to come and share their thoughts on any topic that they wish for up to 2 minutes an individual, 10 minutes total. If, however, you have comment on the SIP agreement, we need you to participate in that public hearing. So, Clerk Moss, do we have anyone who wishes to provide public communication at this time?
We do, Chair Harrington. We have Mr. Dale Feek. Mr. Feek.
Chair Harrington and Commissioners, Dale Feek, Chair of the Washington County Citizen Action Network and Project Director of Hillsborough Air and Water. I've already made the public comment to you in 5 minutes at the Housing Authority, and you already have the document in front of you. I think everybody up there has it, so I didn't hand it out again. I hope everybody in the audience will have a chance to get on the webpage and look at the minutes and be able to get the link, because I sent to you as commissioners links, an email that you have in front of you, but what I sent you has links in it so you can open it up. As I said before, I was interviewed in 2020 on a podcast called Wildfires in the West by the Blue Ridge Environmental Defense League, that's back east. I joined their group. They're on our website as a regional supporter of what we do in looking for effective government, ones that are open and transparent and willing to share what they do and how they do it, and making sure we have social and economic justice, make sure that we take a look at the environment for people as well as the physical environment. So in reviewing a meeting I'm going to have with the general manager of Clean Water Services, I looked at the website and found out it was interviewed and I did a podcast in 2020 about the wildfires. So I listened to it again. It only took 18 minutes. I did it this morning. And it was informative to me, and I learned some things I didn't know, and I said them myself. So it was just kind of interesting. But I also, at the end of that podcast, talk about Senator Wyden and Merkley and how they're trying to help wildfires. And right now they're doing it again. And so as you know, you respect them too because you did an email to him before. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the auditorium that didn't get a chance to sign up that would like to speak on any county topic for up to 2 minutes? So raise your hand or coming forward. Not seeing any additional in the room. Is there any member online via Zoom who provide public comment for 2 minutes on any county-related topic? Give you just a moment to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hands, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Clerk Moss. That brings us to today's consent agenda, which consists of 8 items. 1 set of minutes, 1 item from the Office of Community Development, 1 from Health and Human Services, 1 from Housing Services, 1 from Facilities, Fleet and Parks, 1 from IT, 1 from Land Use and Transportation, and 1 from Finance. What are the wishes of the Commission regarding today's consent agenda?
Move to accept the proposed consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt today's consent agenda. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Whew, it's warm in here today. Next, we have a proclamation to proclaim the 4th week of 2026 as Community Health Worker at CHW Awareness and Appreciation Week here in Washington County. I'd like to welcome our panelists up, and I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Marie Bowman-Davis, our Public Health Division Manager.
Good morning, Chair Harrington, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Dr. Marie Bowman-Davis. I'm the Public Health Division Manager and the appointed local public health administrator. We're so excited to join you this morning to celebrate community health workers. We are asking that your board proclaim the 4th week of August 2026 Community Health Worker Awareness and Appreciation Week here in Washington County. As many of you are already aware, community health workers are integral for the advancement of equal and fair access to care and essential to building and fostering strong and resilient communities. And here in Washington County, community health workers have supported with efforts that improve health literacy, increase access to vaccines, prevent communicable diseases, build community capacity around emergency preparedness and adaptation to climate hazards, and improve access to care through population-specific outreach, education, and systems navigation support. I will now turn it over to our co-presenter, Magdalena.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Magdalena Ramirez. My pronouns are she, her, ella. I am the Traditional Health Worker Strategy Coordinator here at Washington County. And I'll pass the mic for my other co-presenters.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kamisha Manley. I'm the Community Engagement and Evaluation Program Manager with the Oregon Community Health Workers Association, also referred to as ORCHWA, and I'm honored to be here today in partnership with Washington County to acknowledge this meaningful work.
Good morning. My name is Lorena Sanchez. I am a community health worker with Washington County Maternal Health Program.
Yeah, as part of building awareness, today we are sharing a brief definition of community health workers as defined by the Oregon Community Health Worker Workforce Association. Community health workers are defined as frontline public health workers who are trusted members of and or have a close connection with the communities that they serve. Community health workers are trusted and trained community members who work in community and/or clinical settings to promote, advocate for, and/or provide education for health and wellness rooted in relationship and deep connections to the individuals and communities that they serve. Here at Washington County Public Health Division, we recognize the essential role of our community health worker workforce and partners in advancing health and wellness throughout our region. We currently have CHWs, or community health workers staff, embedded across different public health programs offering direct services to our communities. The services include our nurse home visiting program, WIC support, harm reduction, and communicable disease prevention. CHW partnerships have also supported other areas of public health, such as capacity building around emergency preparedness, community resilience, support to communities adversely impacted by climate-related events, such as extreme cold, heat, and wildfires.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you a little bit more about the Oregon Community Health Workers Association. So we are a statewide professional workforce association for community health workers. Our mission is to serve as a unified voice to support the empowerment of and advocate with and for community health workers and our communities. ORCHWA works together to advance community health, social justice, self-determination, and equity. We support the workforce by supporting workforce development, advocacy, education to health systems and other social service systems. We build community across the state with community health workers. We collect data and conduct evaluation of the CHW workforce in Oregon. And we work in partnership with other entities across the country to elevate recognition and maintain fidelity of the CHW workforce. Nationally, Senator Ron Wyden has been a co-sponsor of CHW Awareness Week, also acknowledging the final week of August as CHW Awareness Week. Now, before we conclude our presentation, we would like to respectfully invite you to support community health workers by inviting CHWs to engage in community and policy-making efforts that advance community health and social justice and well-being. Another way you can support is by increasing awareness and recognition of the CHW workforce and the importance of financial investments. We also invite you to advocate for wages and benefits that support the sustainability of this work and its partnerships, and to support opportunities for CHW professional advancement. So thank you so much for sharing time with us today. Our contact information is available there if you would like to reach out and learn more to myself or Magdalena. And I will pass the mic to Lorena to read the proclamation in English and Spanish.
Before you do that, I have a question on the presentation. It's also in the topic sheet, an acronym that I'm just not familiar with. And it's the PAPEL, P-A-P-E-L, CHW, Community Health Workers Collaborative in Washington County. The P-A-P-E-L. What does that stand for?
Yes, that is papel. It's promotores, promotores aliados por equidad y liderazgo. So it's a collaborative network of community health workers here in serving Washington County region.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. I hope I didn't impact your stride now in reading the proclamation for us.
Thank you. Dear Board of Commissioners for Washington County, whereas Washington County recognizes the significant contributions of community health workers in improving health outcomes and encourages collaboration and raising awareness of the important role of CHWs, and whereas community health workers are frontline public health professionals who are trusted members of and or have a close connection with the communities they serve, and whereas community health workers are multifaceted workforce and among the oldest community change agents with centuries of experience supporting community health, and whereas community health workers use a holistic approach to improving social drivers of health and community-centered health education, and collaborate with various teams to increase engagement in healthcare, improve community health knowledge, offer social support, and navigate health, education, and social systems. And whereas over the past 60 years, research demonstrates that CHWs are effective at meeting social needs that improve health, return on investment, and cost savings for the healthcare system. And whereas community health workers have various lived experiences and backgrounds such as sex, faith, abilities, language, culture, race, and ethnicity. And despite commonly experiencing job insecurity, low and unstable pay, limited professional advancement, exposure to possible violence, disease, and vicarious trauma, CHWs continue to show up for our communities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on this 4th day of August 2026, the Washington County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim August 23rd to the 29th, 2026 as Community Health Worker Awareness and Appreciation Week in Washington County, and encourages all residents and partners to commemorate, celebrate, and collaborate with community health workers. Ahora voy a leerlo en español. I will proceed to read it in Spanish. Considerando que el Condado de Washington reconoce las importantes contribuciones de los promotores de salud para mejorar los resultados de salud comunitaria y fomenta la colaboración y la concientización sobre el papel fundamental de los promotores de salud, y considerando que los promotores de salud comunitarios, o CHWs por sus siglas en inglés, son profesionales de salud pública de primera línea, que son miembros de confianza y o tienen una conexión cercana con las comunidades a las que sirven, y considerando que los CHWs son una fuerza laboral multifacética y están entre los agentes de cambio comunitario más antiguos, con siglos de experiencia apoyando la salud comunitaria, y considerando que los promotores de salud utilizan un enfoque holístico para mejorar los impulsores sociales de la salud y la educación en salud centrada en la comunidad, y colaboran con varios equipos para aumentar la participación en la atención médica, mejorar el conocimiento comunitario en salud, ofrecer apoyo social y la navegación de sistemas de salud, educación y sociales. Y considerando que estudios de los últimos 60 años han demostrado que los promotores de salud son efectivos en abordar las necesidades sociales, mejoras en la salud, y también tienen un alto retorno de la inversión y ahorros de costos para el sistema de atención médica. Considerando que los promotores de salud son una fuerza laboral compuesta por personas con varias experiencias de vida y antecedentes como sexo, fe, habilidades, idioma, cultura, raza y etnia, y los promotores de salud son expuestos a inseguridad laboral, bajos salarios, un avance profesional limitado, posibles actos de violencia, enfermedades y traumas vicarios. A pesar de estos desafíos, los promotores de salud siguen presentes en nuestras comunidades. Ahora, por lo tanto, se resuelve que en este día, 4 de agosto del 2026, la Junta de Comisionados del Condado de Washington proclama la última semana de agosto como la semana de concientización y apreciación de los promotores de salud, y anima a todos los residentes y socios a conmemorar, celebrar y colaborar con los promotores de salud.
Thank you. I was just shaking my head so we would leave the doors open. It's rather warm up here in the front of the room. Thank you very much for reading that proclamation. At this juncture, I'd like to ask for any comments or a motion from my colleagues with regard to today's proclamation.
I'd like to at least make one quick comment. As a 30-year healthcare worker in my past, and both clinical and leadership roles, I will just say that it became abundantly clear to me in that time that doing prevention work up front was by far the best way to both efficiently and effectively affect people's health. And so with that said, I just want to commend the work the continued work and the importance of it, and I certainly am ready to act when others have commented.
I would like to second those comments and just share my appreciation for the education and meeting people where they are in the communities to provide the basis and the foundation for good health practices. And thank you very much.
Anyone else? I would ask for a motion to proclaim this fourth week, August 23 through 29, 2026, as Community Health Worker CHW Awareness and Appreciation Week in Washington County, as read.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. And I would like to invite our Washington County employees in support of Community Health Workers Awareness and Appreciation Week and our specific invited guests up to the front of the room for a picture. And we can bring your banner up if you'd like. Okay, Commissioners, if we could. We have 11 folks who are signed up to provide comments in the upcoming public hearing. Just last call to make sure you do sign up for that. So next, we're moving on to a proposed 2026 Strategic Investment Program Agreement between Washington County, the City of Tualatin, and Lamb Research Corporation. I would like to thank our colleagues who are here from the City of Tualatin for joining us today, taking time out of your busy schedules to do so. So I'll turn the presentation over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Harrington and Board. For the record, my name is Marnie Kyle. I'm an Assistant County Administrator, and I'm here today with some really fabulous colleagues. Erin Doyle, Policy and Government Affairs Division Manager, who's been the project lead for this SIP. Also, Don Hudson, the Assistant City Manager and Finance Director for Tualatin. Wayne Noble is going to be coming up soon. He's Corporate Vice President, Global Products Operation for Lamb. And Vartan Jihanan, hopefully I didn't say that too horribly, Director of Global Government Affairs for Lamb. We also, as you've noted, have several VIPs and subject matter experts in the audience for whom, without them, we would not be sitting here today. So today we're coming to your board with a recommendation to approve entering into a strategic investment agreement between Lamb, the City of Tualatin, and the county. As you know, SIP is an effective community development tool that the county has used since 1994, bringing billions of dollars in investment and thousands of high-paying jobs to Washington County and the region. Although there is a partial tax abatement over the 15-year agreement, the company pays ad valorem taxes, a community service fee, and a negotiated payment in lieu. These revenues combined represent increased revenue that would not be seen without this agreement. Each SIP is tailored to the unique business needs and model of that company. But more importantly, each assures that the county and the city have additional revenue in both the short term, during the life of the agreement, and the long term, for years after the agreement, so that we can provide those critical services for our community members. Before I pass this on to Dawn and Aaron, who's our SIP manager, I want to say how proud I am of the staff and the partnership with the City of Tualatin. As you know, the last agreement negotiated in the county was in 2014. All of those subject matter experts with the experience have retired or moved on from the county. This team dug in, we learned, and we managed what I would describe as a very collaborative process with the city and with the company. I'm proud of the proposed agreement before you. I believe it was negotiated in the spirit of what is best for the community, and I believe that it meets your board's policy objectives. So with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Dawn.
Thank you, Marty. Chair Harrington, members of the Board of Commission, on behalf of the City of Tualatin, I'd like to say that we appreciate the partnership with the Washington County and Lamb Research. From the initial meetings with county staff to the meetings with Lamb Research, this process was very productive and respectful. Lamb Research has long been an important part of the Tualatin community, and we're pleased they have chosen to continue investing in our city. This investment's a win for our region. It brings in new jobs, advances innovative technology, and will strengthen our local economy. But this continued relationship is more than just economic. Over the years, Lamb has demonstrated a strong commitment to our community through its partnerships and support for local organizations, education, and workforce development. We appreciate Lamb's continued confidence in our community and look forward to the opportunities this investment will create for our residents, our businesses, and future generations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Erin Doyle. I have to read my title, Policy and Government Affairs Division Manager within the CAO's office. And our colleagues from Lamb, I'll allow you to introduce yourselves now.
Hi, my name is Wayne Nobles, and I am the Corporate Vice President for Global Product Operations for Lamb Research, responsible for all of our global lab infrastructure.
Good morning, and I'm Vartan Jihanian, Director of Global Government Affairs at Lamb Research. Thank you for the time this morning.
For purposes of the staff report, this is just a quick run through of the agenda. We'll provide a SIP background, and then Lamb Research will provide their information about their company and their planned investment. We'll go over the terms of the agreement that we negotiated and are proposing to your board for consideration today, and then a quick analysis of whether or not the proposed agreement meets your objectives, and make a recommended action, which you can see here, which will hopefully end in a public hearing and your vote. So to start off with, what is the Strategic Investment Program? It's to understand why a county would enter into a negotiation or even an agreement around a Strategic Investment Program, or SIP, partial tax abatement. It's important to know what a SIP is. The SIP is a state-authorized program that allows a county to negotiate a partial tax abatement with a traded sector business that would like to make large property investments within that county. The tool is flexible, localized, and allows the county to work with companies to get over the property tax hurdle that may otherwise preclude investment. Historically, Washington County has successfully entered into SIP agreements that create investments that preserve or expand employment opportunities, but also create indirect and induced investment opportunities for other businesses. So a SIP is a powerful tool when we consider it. SIP allows each investment agreement to be tailored to the proposed project, allowing negotiation for specific terms to the contract, and it requires due diligence by the county to understand the long-term trade-offs that a proposed agreement will have on the ability to serve community. Use of the SIP is anchored in locally driven priorities and needs and has afforded Washington County with great outcomes since its first agreement in 1994. Without the SIP tool, many of these investments would likely have not come to Oregon, let alone Washington County, and we would not see the additional overall revenues, investment by other companies, or other investments within our community, education system, or overall economy that comes with any SIP agreement. So what is a SIP agreement? To receive any abatement, a company must reach an agreement with the county and a city if the project is investing within their jurisdictional boundaries. But a SIP agreement also is required to have very specific provisions as it's set up by state law. First, it must be a large investment. There are minimums that are set in state law. The period is 15 years for the abatement, not for the long-term investment, but for the abatement. The company pays ad valorem taxes on an initial threshold of value that they invest as established and escalated by state law over the course of the SIP agreement. The company must pay a community service fee to local governments that represent a portion of the abated taxes. That does have a cap that is also increased over the life of the government as set by state law. The state requires the company to participate in finding employees locally and using publicly supported workforce boards to find opportunities for our community to work when an investment leads to new jobs. And the county and the city can create additional terms that are specific to the agreement and the community service needs. The details of them are highlighted on this slide. But what does the revenue mean? To dig into the financial outcomes for a government, it's important to know that each revenue type is divided differently. But there is revenue for all property taxing districts and agencies in the county. First, the ad valorem taxes are paid on the initial threshold of property value, and that threshold is set by state law. That threshold then grows by 3% over the life of the 15 years of the SIP. Ad valorem taxes are collected by the county and divided among all taxing districts using the same process as all collected taxes. Each district gets their rate. The community service fee is an additional non-tax payment and is assessed when the known level of abatement is set, and then the company pays 25% of the abated tax up to that cap, which is set in state law, and also increases over the life of the SIP agreement using inflation, thus harder to measure. The fee is shared amongst local government taxing districts. Education taxing districts do not receive a portion of the fee. Instead, they work at the state level through the state budget process, which already centralizes and redistributes property taxes and income taxes, and are often enhanced to meet the statewide education needs using the state's resources. Finally, the county and city, if the investment is within their jurisdictional boundaries, can opt to seek additional payments from the company. In Washington County, we've negotiated this term differently for every contract, tailoring the fee using to meet the board's set objectives. But they are all payments in lieu of taxation. That's the big bucket of types. If a city is party to the SIP, the payment in lieu is split between the county and city at a rate negotiated between the two jurisdictions. When a company approaches Washington County to see if there is a possibility of negotiating a SIP, they must be prepared to make these payments and have a project that will have overall positive outcomes to community. To explain the proposed project and the impact on that Lamb Research Corporation envisions in Tualatin, I'll turn it over to Wayne and Vartan to tell Lamb's story.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Harrington, commissioners, and members of the public. Thank you for the opportunity for us to be here today. My name is Wayne Nobles, as we said. There you go. Thank you. And joining me is Vartan Jahanjan, who is the Director of Government Affairs for Lamb Research. We're pleased to be here to discuss our Tualatin expansion project, which we call TUX, and we believe that it represents a transformational opportunity for Washington County. Today, we'd like to share three things: who Lamb Research is, what we're planning to build, and what the investment means for Washington County and the state of Oregon. Cautionary statement. So let me introduce you to Lam Research before discussing the project. Since 1980, Lam Research has been a global leader in semiconductor equipment manufacturing and services. Our equipment enables the production of the world's most advanced semiconductor devices that power everything from smartphones to automobiles, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, medical technology, and national defense. While many consumers may not recognize our name, they rely on our technologies the technologies that are made possible every day by Lam. The world has never depended more on semiconductors than it does today. I think we all know that. As technologies like AI continue to evolve, chips that power them become increasingly sophisticated and increasingly difficult to manufacture. Lam develops a highly specialized equipment that are used to make those chips. In fact, virtually every leading-edge semiconductor device produced today anywhere in the world has used Lam equipment to be as part of its manufacturing process. At the heart of every electronic device is an incredibly complex microchip, and our technologies enable chip manufacturers around the world to produce those devices with extraordinary precision. Oregon has become one of Lam's most important global locations. We've operated in Oregon for more than 30 years, originally as Novellus Systems, and have proudly called Washington County home for more than 20 years. Today, our Oregon campus employs 3,000 people and roughly 850,000 square feet of operating capacity. What makes the site unique is that it brings together the entire product lifecycle in one location: research and development, engineering, manufacturing, supply chain, and field services. Ideas that are conceived here, developed here, and built here, tested here, and ultimately deployed to customers around the world. Products like Sabre, Vector, and Stryker that are designed and developed here in Oregon help enable the production of advanced semiconductor devices used throughout the global economy. Each one of these projects, designed here and built here in Tualatin, are ranked number 1 or number 2 in the global semiconductor equipment market. Let's talk a little bit about the Tux project. Building on that foundation brings us to the Tualatin expansion project, also referred to as Tux. The Tux project represents the next chapter in Lam's investment in Washington County. It is expected to include more than $1.5 billion of total investment, including more than $620 million of planned construction, making it one of the most significant private investments in the county, and, by the way, the largest investment Lam has ever made in R&D anywhere in the world. At full capacity, it will be staffed by about 445 high-wage employees in research, engineering, operations, and technician roles. At its heart, Tux will establish Lam's most advanced research and development center anywhere in the world. The project will significantly expand our advanced clean room laboratories and research capabilities, accelerating development across the full spectrum of semiconductor manufacturing technologies. The plans also include a new office building, expansion of an existing clean room space, conversion of existing facilities to an advanced metrology laboratory, and supporting infrastructure needed to enable future growth. Together, these investments will strengthen Washington County's position as one of the world's premier centers for semiconductor innovation. Projects of this scale require long-term planning and confidence. The Strategic Investment Program provides that confidence. SIP is a critical factor in Lam's decision to move forward with a full Tux investment here in Oregon. It helps ensure Oregon remains competitive for large semiconductor investments in an industry where states across the country and around the world are competing for the same projects. Lam is committed to Oregon. We've invested here for more than 30 years and proudly call Washington County home for more than 20 years. Our goal is to continue growing here. With SIP, we're not just building facilities to meet today's needs. We are making investments in infrastructure, utilities, and site capacity needed to future-proof our Tualatin campus, so it is ready to support continued expansion and innovation for years to come. Without SIP, we would likely need to significantly reduce this scope and focus only on our most essential operational needs, limiting the full economic benefit of the Tux project to Washington County and to Lamb Research. Our goal is simple: to move forward with the full vision of Tux and continue investing in Oregon for decades to come. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Vartan, who will discuss this investment and what it means to Washington County's economy, workforce, and community.
Thank you, Wayne. As Wayne shared, the Tux project represents a significant long-term investment in Washington County. I'd like to spend the next few minutes discussing what that investment means for the economy, the workforce, and the community. Before talking about the future, it's important to recognize LAM's impact today. LAM currently employs approximately 3,000 people in Oregon, but our impact extends well beyond our workforce. According to an independent in-plan economic analysis, our operations support more than 10,100 jobs across Oregon, including approximately 7,300 jobs right here in Washington County. Each year, LAM contributes nearly $1.7 billion to Oregon's economy and generates approximately $108 million in state and local tax revenue. These numbers demonstrate that LAM is already an important economic engine for Washington County. The Tux project builds on that strong foundation. During construction, the benefits begin almost immediately. Over the 3-year construction period, the project is expected to support an average of approximately 930 jobs each year while generating roughly $500 million in economic output. The project is also expected to generate more than $24 million in additional state and local tax revenue. Beyond those numbers are opportunities for local contractors, suppliers, engineers, manufacturers, and many other businesses throughout the county. Once fully operational, the impact becomes even greater. The Tux project is expected to create 445 new, high-quality jobs, bringing LAM's Oregon workforce to more than 3,300 employees. Annual employee compensation is expected to exceed $530 million. Overall, LAM is expected to support nearly 11,270 jobs across Oregon while contributing approximately $1.85 billion annually to Oregon's economy. These are long-term, high-quality jobs that strengthen families, support local businesses, and reinforce Washington County's position as one of the world's leading centers for semiconductor innovation. But LAM's commitment to Washington County extends far beyond economics. For more than 20 years, we've been proud to partner with this community. We invest in education, workforce development, employee volunteerism, charitable giving, and organizations that strengthen the communities where our employees live and work. Whether it's supporting the Tualatin Chamber's STEAM Education Foundation, providing scholarships to local students, volunteering in our community, or helping organizations like the Oregon Food Bank and the Tualatin Schoolhouse Pantry, we believe being a good corporate citizen is part of being a successful company. These partnerships reflect a long-term commitment to Washington County that extends well beyond our campus. We're equally committed to investing in the next generation. The semiconductor industry depends on a highly skilled workforce, and we're helping build that pipeline right here in Oregon. Through partnerships with Oregon State University, Portland State University, Portland Community College, Clackamas Community College, and local schools, we're creating pathways for students to pursue careers in advanced manufacturing and semiconductor technology. Programs like our Microscopy Technician Training Program, support for Girls Inc.'s Eureka Initiative, and mentorship opportunities with Tigard High School are helping prepare students for meaningful careers while strengthening Oregon's long-term competitiveness. As we continue to grow, we're also committed to growing responsibly. LAM has established ambitious long-term sustainability goals, including achieving 100% renewable energy globally by 2030 and net zero carbon emissions by 2050. We believe innovation, economic growth, and environmental stewardship go hand in hand, and we're committed to advancing all three. Chair Harrington and commissioners, today you've heard about who Lamb Research is, what we're building, and the benefits this investment will bring to Washington County. For more than 30 years, we've invested in Oregon, and for more than 20 years, we've proudly called Washington County home. The TUX project represents the next chapter in that partnership. TUX is projected to deliver broad public benefits. It's expected to bring more than $1.5 billion in total investment, create 445 new high-quality jobs, strengthen local businesses and suppliers, invest in the next generation of talent, and reinforce Washington County's position as a global leader in semiconductor innovation. Projects of this scale require long-term planning and certainty. The SIP provides that certainty and helps Oregon and Washington County remain competitive with other states that are actively competing for advanced manufacturing investments. It allows us to make the infrastructure investments today that future-proof our Tualatin campus for continued expansion and innovation. Our goal, like Wayne mentioned, is simple: to move forward with the full vision for TUX and continue investing in Oregon for decades to come. Thank you for your time, your consideration, and your partnership. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Intentional pause, I'm sure. With that, I'd like to go over now with you the proposed 2026 LAM SIP agreement. As a result of the goals, plans, and investments, Washington County, the City of Tualatin, and LAM have spent months negotiating a potential SIP for your consideration to see if we can create a balanced agreement that allows for this investment to continue to grow LAM here, and then growing the resources we have to serve our community. The draft agreement is included in today's packet so you and the public can see the explicit terms as they are laid out, but I am going to now summarize some key impacts we expect to see from the proposed agreement. As stated earlier, there are required revenues to be paid. The first, we did our best to estimate the ad valorem taxes that will impact the listed taxing jurisdictions on this slide. I will first say that these are estimates. We cannot tell you what taxes are in the future. Across the parcels, there are 10 governments that will receive increased taxes based on the statutory requirements alone. This chart shows the estimation of the increased total collections over the 15 years on an annualized basis as opposed to cumulative. Again, it's an estimated value of taxable property at the current tax rate and shows that each year the revenue continues to increase. Each taxing district will receive the portion that reflects their tax rate within the collected taxes. While we say it's $38 million, it is a rough estimate, but it is true that the tax base will still grow for all agencies during the abatement period. It's a partial tax abatement. At the end of the SIP agreement's 15 years, the district will also see new levels of taxes reflecting the fully assessed value returning to the property tax rolls. So we'll see a small increase throughout the period, the 15-year period, and then another increase at the end. In addition, the next required revenue source is the Community Service Fee, or CSF. This fee is on a portion of the abated taxes, the lesser of 25% or a cap as set out in statute, which increases over time. If the SIP agreement is approved, we will be working with the local governments that are listed on this slide to share the fee based on each agency's portion of the local government tax base. Because the cap increase is based on inflation indexes and the value of the abatement, it's also a very big estimation of the valuation at $45 million across the 15 years. These 7 taxing districts will, however, again, we are not committing to these numbers, but this is our estimation based on the information we have today. From there, we negotiated further terms. These were created thinking about what is necessary to meet the county's stated objectives and the city's needs to be met. These are also terms used to set expectations for all members of the agreement, all parties to the agreement. First, as Lamb stated, they plan to invest nearly $1.5 billion in the expansion. To allow for some additional growth or cost increases, we set a total amount that can be subjected to the SIP abatement at $1.7 billion. If the company does not reach its cap, it does not change the terms of the agreement. But if they need to make larger investments over that 1.7, they will either pay full taxes on that additional value, or if their investment plan is large enough, they can come back to us and see if there's another SIP for the county's consideration. Second, the proposed agreement sets a period in which the abatement will start without allowing the potential for the SIP starting to last into perpetuity. This takes into consideration what the largest investments will be by LAM, when they'll be started, but likely receiving what is called a cancellation of assessment on commercial facilities under construction, or CACFC, or as I like to call it, deconstruction in progress. That is also permitted for 2 years of the building cycle or until they have received their certificate of occupancy. This narrowing the start date also creates clarity for all partners, including other taxing districts, and encourages the completion of the construction in a timely manner. The next item that we negotiated was the payment in lieu. For this agreement, we considered the nature and phasing of LAM's expected expansion. Because we were able to tailor agreements, the city and county considered the intentional ramp up using the planned largest buildings growth. We were able to reach an agreement that reflects that gradual increase in use of the new campus. To help create clarity of the respected payments and revenues for all parties, we reached an agreement that schedules clear payments that best meets the needs of all parties. This reduces county work to calculate the fee each year, helps the county and city anticipate and budget the SIP fee, and allows LAM clarity of their payments. If this agreement is finalized, the county and city will sign a separate intergovernmental agreement to divide this payment over the negotiated 57% to the county, 43% to the city. Finally, to ensure that the county can account for the expected employment we are expecting, we will work with the state to receive the needed information to track job growth tied specifically to this SIP. This is key to our tracking if our objectives need to meet our objectives. In addition to the information that LAM provided from their independent study, Washington County also received a third-party economic impact analysis, or EIA. We contracted with Optimal Solutions, who routinely estimates and reports economic impacts and potential for all types of development across the country. The finalized EIA is included in the packet for this meeting, but the big picture summary shows that there's not only is the LAM investment making a direct increase in the economy, there is also indirect and induced benefits to the overall city, county, regional, and state economy. As you can see from the information on the slide, the investment the LAM will make because of this SIP has short-term and long-term impacts to people and businesses. The construction investments are robust, but there are also long-term annual increases for service providers, suppliers, and other businesses that will serve the new employees and residents that come from this growth. These additional impacts will also grow the local property tax base if local businesses can grow or start here, and will provide revenue to the state through added income taxes from these new jobs. These income taxes will help the state find revenues for the school districts and other vital services that the community needs. In all, there are significant long-term benefits to the county, city, and community that stem from this proposed SIP and LAM's investment. To wrap up, we did an analysis. The board set new objectives or updated objectives in 2024. There are 10. And over this next slides, I will briefly summarize our analysis of that. But here first, we look at the first two objectives, which relate to career pathways. Looking at the EIA and LAM's ongoing investment in the workforce, the county believes that there is sufficient supporting evidence that the SIP and investments will retain and create jobs that exceed the average wage for this area of the county. In the EIA, Optimal examined the likely range of positions that LAM will be adding as a result of this growth, and Optimal concluded that these direct jobs will support high wages. LAM has already invested in workforce development and expects to continue that work through this SIP, as you've already heard. And while the programs will adjust over time, the company shows up at the high school, community college, and university levels to invest in local people to make them ready to explore job opportunities with LAM or in the semiconductor industry. The third and fourth objectives are also met per staff's analysis. The EIA shows the growth at LAM has indirect and induced economic effects. In addition, LAM and its local employees already invest in community-based organizations and their work. This commitment to enhancing our community shows that LAM isn't just saying that they're investing in our economy, they have a history of doing it. In addition, this development will increase the assessed property tax value through new building and extensive new machinery and equipment that will become part of the tax base. Throughout the SIP, the initial taxes will grow with these investments, and at the end of the partial abatement, the new value will exceed current tax rolls for all taxing districts on this site. For objectives 5 and 6, through the current work done by LAM, we know that the company values creating a base of suppliers both locally and internationally. The company's policies have led to local partnerships and created opportunities for local business to grow with LAM. In addition, the EIA anticipates this growth, showing millions in new economic value locally. On Objective 6, the land use and transportation assessments were undertaken by the city and continue to be overseen at the city level. We know that there is ongoing work in this space, but by committing to the local process, we believe this objective is largely met. Continuing city land use process with state oversight means this objective will continue to be met as the process continues. This objective does not mean that the community has not raised concerns, but that the necessary processes are followed to address the land use and traffic impacts of new development. For the county, placing this large industrial development in an already commercially zoned land inside of a city's jurisdictional boundaries meets county expectations and objectives. To ensure that we're not just discounting taxes for any business, the county set objectives 6, 7, and 8 to measure if the deal will be an overall benefit and that it's tailored to meet the needs of the community. Through the terms, both mandated and negotiated, staff believe the proposed agreement meets these expectations. The additional revenues will allow for services to match the growth over the course of the SIP of the work done at the Tualatin campus, and that the incentive is reasonable in light of the size of the investment. County and city staff considered the need for our services across the entirety of our communities that we both serve and negotiated the payment in lieu in light of that need. In addition, we recognize that the overall economic impact should further create benefit to the county, city, and taxpayers as LAM's long-term place in Tualatin continues to create opportunities and remain anchored here. On the last two objectives, the proposed agreement continues to look at the ability to understand the impacts meet the expectations. Terms of the contracts ensure payment in lieu will be made and that we can see the work through the report information that the state report information that's sent to the state that the investment is having the expected employment impacts for LAM. Finally, through the required provisions to enter into a work source agreement and the continuation of LAM's local investment in multiple pathways to careers at LAM, we are confident that the outcomes will spread opportunities into communities that have been economically marginalized. As a result of these negotiations and following this analysis, it is staff's recommendation that the board hold a public hearing as required by state law on the proposed 2026 LAM SIP agreement. It is also a recommendation that after the hearing, the board approve the proposed agreement. Thank you for your time and consideration this morning.
Thank you very much for the very informative presentation. I know that my colleagues and I each appreciate it. Before we move on, I want to ask my colleagues to see if they have any questions of our staff on this agreement and anything you saw or heard in the presentation or read in the packet. Okay. Seeing none, before I start the public hearing, I would like to note that we received 2 letters of support from elected officials, Senator Janine Solman and Governor Tina Kotek. We also received 25 constituent comments, one which was unique and 24 seemed to be, in my opinion, from a form letter. We received those prior to noon on Monday so that we on the board had the benefit of time to read all of those. The packet was updated with all of the project information and the SIP agreement. We board members have had access to that information at the same time that you in our community have, but we were also asked by our staff to please engage with them yesterday if we had any last questions. So at this juncture, it's 11:30. Checking in with Clerk Moss, we have 11 plus people who have signed up for the public testimony. So thank you very much. I'd like to ask you to move back to the auditorium seats. and I would like to open the public hearing on this subject. Clerk Moss, could you please call up our first person?
Yes, I can, Madam Chair. We'll start with the in-person first and then move to the Zoom one that we have signed up online. So we have Jen Little and Dale Feek, followed by John Topanga and Tim Knope if he's here. So first two, please come up.
Go ahead, Ms. Little. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Harrington and board members. For the record, my name is Jen Little, Vice President of Public Affairs for the Washington County Chamber of Commerce. I would like to first share that LAM has been a long-standing partner with the Washington County Chamber of Commerce School to Career program, providing pathways for students to careers in our community. The Chamber strongly supports the proposed strategic investment agreement between Washington County and the City of Tualatin and LAM Research. This $1.7 billion project represents exactly the type of investment the SIP was created to encourage. It strengthens Washington County's position as a global leader in semiconductor innovation, creates new opportunities for workers and local businesses, and reinforces our reputation as a place where companies choose to invest and grow. LAM's planned expansion will bring hundreds of new high-wage jobs and create opportunities for local suppliers, contractors, and service providers throughout our community. This is a big win for Washington County. It positions our region for continued economic growth and opportunity. Thank you for your continued commitment to fostering a strong economy and for your thoughtful consideration of this agreement. We urge you to support this SIP and the investment in jobs it will bring to Washington County. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Feek.
Chair Harrington, Commissioners, Dale Feek. I sent you an email this morning, and Kevin is given part of that to you. So in the email, I ask you to please open the attachment titled Intel Economic Report Sparks Debate, December 2014 by Jim Redden, Pamplin Papers, and said I'll share more during this meeting, which I am doing. I went to that meeting in 2013, which Jim Redden proposed, and I asked a public comment. You notice, Commissioner Will, you're mayor and you're in the picture there, and we got Jill Island, who's the Regional Corporate Affairs Director for Intel at the time. And I was the first person to ask a question because a PhD actually did the report, but the person that actually reported on that, John, yeah, there he is. Yeah, but the problem with that was he never even read the report, it appeared like, and the PhD did the report. So when I asked the question of the two, Jill Island said, I'll get back to you, and John said, I never rehearsed the answer to that question. So that was Sparks' debate, okay? So it's a question whether economic development really occurs. That's a debate thing. The outcome of all that is I ended up getting to know Jill Island quite well. I joined Intel's Air Quality Advisory Committee. I served on that committee with her, did a lot of things, still serve on that. So in the long run, I think it worked out. But there's always question about the economic development plus money and not doing a cost-benefit analysis versus just economic development analysis. That's very important. Second thing to do down there, it has to do with Chad Euler of LAM Research. He was the first chair of the Washington County Local Emergency Planning Committee. He and I attended a state conference in Redmond. LAM Research is one of the first of 40 counties sites that Scott Porter worked with to write chemical off-site release plan. The plan was required because the site provides equipment manufacturer supports. The big bottom line here is LAM Research really put the energy and time for him to do a good job. I appreciate the work that they did from LAM Research.
Thank you, Mr. Feek. Mr. Topanga.
Thank you. Chair Harrington, members of the board, I'm John Topanga. I'm the president of the Oregon Business Council. I have submitted some written testimony that was largely covered in the presentation that you just heard with numbers and facts and figures, so I'm just going to speak to you for a moment. The first point I would make here is that Oregon is in a competition now for people, businesses, ideas, and capital unlike any time in the state's history. We've got a very slow-growing U.S. demography. In this state, there are more deaths than births, and so we are in a competition for people, businesses, and ideas. And so we also have a very fierce competition going on right now in this sector of semiconductor. Washington County and Oregon are in a leadership position. This is a global center for research and development and the leading U.S. center for research and development in this sector. But boy, we've got Arizona, Ohio, Texas, and others that are challengers and that are eager to take any advantage that they can in this period. I would say the SIP program has helped. It's been a critical tool over the course of the last generation to turn this county into that global center. And this is just another application of it. We should be absolutely thrilled that this organization that has been working here for 30 years and has the leading research in their area continues to want to invest in Oregon. It is, I would argue, the best news economically that I have come across in this decade in the state of Oregon. So I would strongly encourage you to accept this agreement and keep Washington County a global center for semiconductor.
Thank you. Clerk Moss, who do we have next?
I did not see Tim Knapp in attendance. The next two is Pat Clemens and Brett Hamilton.
Mr. Simmons.
Clemens.
Clemens, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate it.
No trouble. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all today. My name is Pat Clemens. I'm a resident of Washington County, and I'm here representing Mortenson. We're the construction partner for Lamb Research, the Tualatin Lab Expansion Project here known as TUX that we're discussing. We're proud to be here in support of Lamb and their transformative investment in Washington County, and also in support of Washington County's strategic investment in Lamb. TUX represents, as you've heard, more than $1.5 billion of total investment, including more than $600 million in planned construction. And from our perspective as builders, the value begins way before the facility becomes operational. You've heard that there's more than 1,400 jobs anticipated during the construction. That includes engineers, electricians, pipe fitters, carpenters, and many others who earn substantial wages and will spend that money in local communities. It also provides, importantly, opportunities for apprentices entering the skilled trades at a time when we've seen a downturn in those numbers, and we need that next generation of workers to get involved. It also creates opportunities for hundreds of local trade partners and suppliers and other small businesses that rely on investments like this to grow. Beyond construction, you've heard that there's an estimated $500 million in statewide economic output, $24 million in additional state and local tax revenue, that without the SIP and investments like TUX become more difficult to advance, putting at risk these jobs, the economic activity, and the long-term community benefits that accompany them. This represents the type of investment every community hopes to attract, one that creates jobs today, builds opportunities for tomorrow, and strengthens our economic future for decades to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hamilton?
Good morning. My name is Brett Hamilton. I'm a resident of Tualatin and a small business owner. I live about 1,000 feet downwind from Lamb, and I'm here representing our neighborhood. And I would request an extended, like maybe 4 minutes, because we only had a few days to prepare as opposed to the applicant who's had apparently a couple months. So if I could get 4 minutes, that would be fantastic. If not, I can fit it into 2.
Sorry, just 2.
Okay.
Thank you, but we do have your letter.
Thank you. So I'm the founder of Save Tualatin Road, which our neighborhood organized in order to address the negative impacts of Lamb's development. This presentation was fantastic and, of course, clarifies all of the positive impacts that this development has. But for those of us who live nearby within hearing distance of Lamb's HVAC that runs 24 hours a day, there are some massive negative impacts that have not been addressed. And some clarifications from the presentation. This project is already, construction has already started. So this narrative that it's going to happen if you pass the SIP, the construction is already going on. My biggest issue is the public found out about this on Friday afternoon. It was added to your agenda prior, I think after your agenda was even published. My ask is do not vote this through today simply because the public has not had adequate opportunity to read and understand and testify on all of this application. It's a massive tax break for a multi-billion-dollar company. Lamb can afford to pay the fully assessed value of their taxes. There's no question. And so we are asking for an extension of the hearing. I don't even know what the actual process is, but to extend this hearing, to allow the public the opportunity to fully participate, because we did not know about this until 4 days ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton.
The next two we have is Danielle Silver and Brian Carney.
Ms. Silver, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair Harrington, Commissioners. Thanks for your time. I'm Danielle Siver with the Westside Economic Alliance. The Westside Economic Alliance would like to express strong support for Lamb Research and the proposed Strategic Investment Agreement. WEA represents a coalition of about 150 public sector jurisdictions, private employers, and community benefit organizations working collaboratively to advance balanced economic development throughout the Tualatin Valley. Lamb has worked closely with staff to submit a thorough plan for the future growth. Today, approving this particular SIP agreement signals Washington County's commitment to economic development and competitiveness. At a time when Oregon is losing businesses, companies are expanding elsewhere, and companies are not considering Oregon as a home, Lamb continues to invest in our semiconductor ecosystem and our residents through community contributions, global innovation, and jobs. This investment will yield a durable revenue base to support our communities, schools, and other local services. We measure success by multi-level job creation. This agreement means hundreds of construction jobs. As a mom of a son who's a sheet metal apprentice, I can't express how important this is for the future of many young people. This also means nearly 450 new full-time, high-wage jobs for our residents. Additionally, the multiplier effect reaches small businesses, vendors, and suppliers along with their workforce. New employees will be paying income and property taxes, shopping locally, and volunteering and buying homes. Oregon and the region need an economic win, and this is an easy one for Washington County and the city of Tualatin. This SIP agreement will reflect Washington County's commitment to strengthening its leadership in the Silicon Forest. The Westside Economic Alliance respectfully urges your support to approve Lamb Research's SIP agreement and the investment in the future of Tualatin, Washington County, and Oregon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Carney.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Brian Carney. I'm the current president of the Tualatin Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here to express our strong support for Lamb Research's expansion. Oregon's economy has faced challenges recently. Both the private sector and construction industries have shrank while nationally they have grown, according to Oregon Business and Industry. Lamb Research's expansion represents more than $1.5 billion in total investment and $623 in construction spending. That means hundreds of millions of dollars flowing in directly into our local economy, supporting contractors, electricians, pipe fitters, suppliers, and countless small businesses. When complete, the project creates 445 new full-time jobs with an average compensation of over $160,000 a year. Those are family wage jobs that strengthen our entire community as employees spend their earnings in local businesses and pay taxes. The Strategic Investment Program is one of Oregon's most important tools for attracting and retaining these transformational investments. And just as important, it sends a message Oregon values companies willing to make long-term commitments to our communities. If we cannot support a proven community partner like Lamb Research as it invests billions of dollars into the Oregon economy and creates hundreds of high-paying jobs, what message does that send to the next company considering investing here? On behalf of the Tualatin Area Chamber of Commerce, I respectfully urge you to approve the SIP agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Moss, who do we have next?
The next two we have is Chris Sedmeyer and Nick Trishka.
Is it Mr. Sedmeyer?
Settlemeyer.
Settlemeyer, thank you. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Okay. Chair Harrington and members of the board, thank you for your time in advance. I'm here representing Ascentech Engineering. We're a critical supplier of LAM. We've been supporting LAM since 2007. I personally have been in the semiconductor ecosystem for half of my career, and that entire time has been supporting LAM. So I do know a bit about that ecosystem, and I think what we wanted to do at Ascentech is really just focus in on kind of a case study. We talk a lot about the 445 jobs, and that's what LAM's required to report, and they have. But there are a lot of knock-on impacts throughout the supply chain that I just kind of want to, just my little stick of the supply chain. So Ascentech is a critical supplier, as I said. We've supported LAM since 2007. We've already grown, almost doubled in size because of LAM's growth. So when we talk about the semiconductor ecosystem, it truly is an ecosystem. The only way semiconductor works, because it's so fast moving, is we have to be completely integrated. So what I've often heard said is, if LAM sneezes, we get a cold, right? So we're that lockstep, right? So when they grow, we have to grow. So it has this knock-on effect. And then we have suppliers that are integrated with us, right? So when we see this 445 jobs, that's great. That's the number that's on the screen. But we anticipate 100 headcount job growth just in us. And then that's going to have another knock-on effect. So all of our suppliers, which probably number about 20 in Washington County, are also going to have a 40% increase, right? So you're looking at 450, but the total effect, and it was in the presentation, but it says supported jobs, and there's a big number, right? So just when you look at this one stick of the supply chain, you're looking at that 445 jobs in LAM, and probably that same number within my stick of the supply chain. And there's probably 300 of those sticks, right? So just wanted to give that kind of, because the numbers can kind of, your eyes roll back. And so when we talked at our executive management about how important it is to see that picture, even when we talk about development, same thing, knock-on effect. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Nick, I'm afraid I will mispronounce your last name, so I've just used your first name, hopefully correctly. So please introduce yourself and start when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. My name is Nick Triska, Head of Business Development at Greater Portland, Inc. We're the regional economic development organization serving the 7-county metropolitan area here in the Greater Portland region. My job is to help this region compete for global business investment and maintain the industry that anchors our economy. On behalf of GPI, I'm here in strong support of LAM's Tualatin Expansion Project and the Strategic Investment Program Agreement under consideration. Advanced semiconductor investment of this kind has choices. LAM can locate its most advanced R&D in markets like Arizona, Texas, Ohio, and destinations overseas, all of which compete enthusiastically for exactly this kind of project. The SIP is Oregon's primary tool for staying at the table for this caliber of investment. And without a comparable tool, Washington County and Oregon doesn't make the shortlist, let alone win. And the TUX expansion is no ordinary project. It establishes LAM's most advanced research and development center in the world, right here in Washington County. At GPI, we look at economic development tools like SIP through the lens of cluster development. Each designee does more than land a single facility or campus. As previously stated by others this morning, it raises the concentration of high-wage jobs, capital-intensive industry, and that density compounds. Direct jobs, yes, but also the indirect jobs that support them and the induced jobs that support all of the above, exceeding 10,000 in total. It draws in suppliers, deepens the talent pool, and makes the next ecosystem investment easier to secure. LAM is a foundational node in the Silicon Forest, and every effort that strengthens the entire ecosystem, which is precisely the kind of industry concentration our region competes on and cannot easily replicate. On behalf of Greater Portland, Inc., I respectfully urge the approval of the proposed SIP agreement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Chair, that completes everyone that signed up in the room. Is there anyone in the auditorium that I missed that would want to provide comment as this public hearing? Raise your hand, start coming forward. Not seeing there. We did have one sign up online. We had Nicole Vargas on behalf of Senator Solomon. Ms. Vargas, I also see Senator Solomon is available online. Would you give it, or will the senator give your comments?
This is Nicole. I can speak.
Okay, please go ahead.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Nicole Vargas, and I am the Chief of Staff to State Senator Janine Solomon, District 15. She sends her regrets she could not be here today, so I'm speaking on her behalf. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in strong support of the proposed Strategic Investment Program Agreement with Lamb Research. 3 years ago, I helped lead Senate Bill 4 through the legislature, a once-in-a-generation bill built to grow our semiconductor industry, strengthen our national supply chain, and most importantly, create good-paying jobs for Oregonians right here at home. This agreement is exactly what we built that bill for. Lamb Research isn't a newcomer chasing incentives. They're a 20-year partner already anchoring 3,000 jobs in Washington County. This agreement lets them go further. Over $1.5 billion invested, 445 new high-wage jobs, and an estimated $37 million in new revenue for our county over 15 years. Resources for schools, roads, and services our communities count on. And this comes at a moment when Oregon needs it. Our semiconductor sector is facing its toughest stretch in over a decade. Manufacturing jobs statewide are at a 15-year low, and our region has felt real pain from setbacks at Intel and job losses. Lamb is choosing to invest in Washington County, and that is not something we should take for granted. It's something we should welcome with open arms. I think about the students at Forest Grove High School's mechatronics program and young people across our 13 STEM hubs who are training right now for careers exactly like these. This agreement means those students won't have to leave Oregon to build their futures. They can build them here, close to home, close to family. This is what SB 4 promised, keeping our supply chain secure, keeping our kids close, and turning good policy into good jobs, even in a hard economic climate. I respectfully urge the board to approve the agreement. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next hand we have, and only other hand we have raised, is Charlie Henderson. Mr. Henderson, can you hear us?
Hi, yes, good morning.
Please go ahead for up to 2 minutes on this public hearing.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. For the record, this is Charlie Henderson. I did not know that this was going to be happening today. I'm actually signed up to testify for a different matter, but I found it really weird and suspicious given how much community pushback there is against these types of ginormous projects that like the one gentleman said that he heard about it on Friday, and all of a sudden today on a Tuesday morning, everybody is here just in support of this project. We love what we hear and we're so happy about it, and there's no opposition to it at all. It's a little weird, you know, and so maybe we could chew on that for a second and really have an honest assessment of, did we get this information out to the community like we should have, or was this discussed behind closed doors? And Lamb was given plenty of time, and the different businesses were given plenty of time to line up their people to come speak today. It was also weird and a little telling that the one gentleman requested 4 minutes to speak, and then the other person's 2 minutes seemed to stretch on for 4 or 5 minutes. Very odd. Oh, we're okay. This is what we take issue with. Interesting. Okay, well, in any case, I just wanted to point out that it's very odd that in this community that is outspoken against data centers and this type of semiconductor investment, that we have no real opposition here today. A little food for thought there. If you guys want to hold off on voting on anything, but probably not.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. Not seeing any other hands, Chair Harrington.
And with that, I will close today's public hearing. And as I noted earlier in the meeting and on this topic, we did receive a packet of testimony with over 25 submissions. There was, in addition to the 2 letters, and each of those was not in favor of this specific project. One was it was a unique letter, and the remaining 24 seemed to be, in my opinion, through a form letter. But we did receive each and every one of those. So we've had the presentation and the public hearing, and at this juncture, I would like to ask my colleagues if you have any questions for Washington County staff based upon anything you heard today in the public hearing. Seeing none, at this juncture, I would like to invite comments from the board prior to having a motion to adopt this strategic investment program proposal. Who would like to go first? Go for it.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you all for presenting. Thank the speakers for providing input. The first thing I'd like to say is just to encourage LAM, based on some of the community feedback and or neighbor feedback, that you consider engaging with those neighbors and seeing what you can do to decrease whatever impacts that your current and future operations will have on the neighborhood. I think that ends up working better for everybody if you engage and do what you can. My first comment on the content of the SIP and some of the testimony is that I think it's a significant false equivalency to compare this SIP and what is planned for investment compared to the discussion and concerns that I have stated I have around using economic development tools to encourage data center development. I don't find those to be similar. This is a $1.5 billion investment in our community with 445 high-wage jobs. It is, LAM is clearly focused on environmental stewardship balanced with expansion. I think this project is critical to the economic health of our state and our county. It's an excellent use of the SIP process as an economic development tool. To me, this is exactly the type of project that is intended for this to be used, which again, I would contrast from some of the other types of development that it has been being used for by other jurisdictions and other economic development tools. And as John testified, I will state that I am absolutely enthusiastic to support this, and that is all I have to say.
Commissioner Treese, you're next.
Thank you, Chair. And I certainly concur with Commissioner Snyder's comments. I do want to add a couple things, and that is that with all due respect to Ms. Siver and the testimony from Westside Economic Alliance, this was not just a simple, easy. It is an easy fix, but the process was really iterative, and we have great respect for the work that LAM did, the work that the City of Tualatin did, and our staff in coming to this agreement. This has been a long process. It now is presented to us, and while I agree again, Ms. Siver, it's the right thing to do, I just want to add some color to the process that has occurred in the background. There was a lot of work that went on. The other thing that I want to say is that I've spent a large portion of my career in economic development, and I concur with Mr. Tapania on the fact that this is the most significant thing that we've seen in the last 10 years. This is an important step forward, and the timing is more than due. We are past due for this type of advancement. And at the same time, while it's our responsibility to grow our local economy, it's also our responsibility to consider the effects at the state level through the income tax revenue that's provided, and I strongly support that. This is our opportunity to continue to grow our local economy to meet the residents' needs of Washington County. We struggle We need to make sure that in lieu of raising taxes and doing other things to meet our needs, we can grow our local economy. So thank you to everybody that has done the work here. I am in strong support of this. I think LAM, the last thing I want to underscore is that it may have been lost that LAM's work, the production of the equipment that's necessary in this industry, is not a local issue. This is a national and international issue. They float with the needs of the entire tech economy, not just our local tech industries. And I think that that's an important thing to underscore as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Nafisa Fai or Jerry Willie, who wants to go next?
I think Commissioner Willie tapped me, so I'll go. Thank you, Chair. I see economic development differently. Too many times we measure success by the size of the investment or the press release announcing another $1 billion project. I don't. I believe that economic development should be measured by a much simpler, rather mundane question. And that question for me is that does the investment make life better for the people who already call Washington County home? If taxpayers are helping make an investment possible, then taxpayers deserve something in return. Does it create more opportunity, more jobs, more innovation? If the answer is yes, then it's an investment. If the answer is no, it is a subsidy and we are subsidizing. Those are not the same thing. One of the central lessons from the Chip War book, which, by the way, when you were speaking, that's the book I was remembering, which was my coming out of the pandemic book for me. It's a very exciting book. I recommend everyone to read it if you have not, is that the global competition is no longer just about manufacturing semiconductors. It is about building the innovation ecosystem. The places or the jurisdictions that lead those ecosystems will shape the economic of the future. Washington County is fortunate to already be one of those places. Washington County has spent decades building that ecosystem, becoming the economic engine of Oregon. And today's decision is about whether we continue building on that strength. This agreement helps strengthen that position through the up to $1.7 billion investment, about 445 high wages jobs, continued growth of a world-class semiconductor research and development. We've heard it today, that word kept coming up. And negotiated payments and accountability measures that provide public value throughout the life of this agreement. Residents are right to ask tough questions, whether, where public incentives are involved. It is right to ask those tough questions. I do too. Our responsibility doesn't end when we approve an agreement. It continues by measuring those results. Did Washington County residents get those jobs? Did our community colleges and apprenticeship programs were created through pathways into these careers? Did that happen? Did local businesses benefit from the supply chain? We've heard about the supply chain. If you sneeze, we get a cold. I love that. That will forever stay with me. Did taxpayers receive the long-term values they were promised? Those are the standards by which I will judge this agreement. I want Washington County, John, to compete, not by offering the biggest incentives, but by offering the strongest workforce, the best research partnership, the most innovative businesses, and clear accountability to the public. That's the kind of economic development I believe in. For those reasons, I support this agreement, and I will be voting yes. And thank you to the LAM research leadership that showed up today. I hope you take what the community has expressed concerns around the pollution, the ground vibrating, and I think one of the community members in their testimony put it as a fugitive dust. I called it runaway dust. There are ways to prevent that, and I hope you consider those immediate changes because you will make a difference in our community, and we want you here, and you will be here. but please hear the community concerns and mitigate those impacts. Thank you.
Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I don't really have anything to add to that. We're really excited about this. This is not my first venture through a SIP negotiation process. So this one was unique in many areas, but I'm very supportive of this program. So thank you, Lam, for your investment.
Thank you, commissioners. I will close, and I'm responding to some of the comments that we have received, not just here today in person, but also through various constituent communication. Prior to being an elected official, I had a career in high tech for over 22 years. High tech is a part of our everyday life, whether we realize it or not. It's also part of our world. We are a global community now and into the future. I've been an elected official now for 19 and a half years. 12 years first at Metro, our regional government, as a Metro councilor, and 7.5 years now, soon to be 8, as the county chair. I have known of LAM's presence that entire time, but I've always thought or felt that the city of Tualatin really owns the LAM community relationship, because LAM is very proud of what they do, their presence right there in the city of Tualatin. I appreciate having gotten to know LAM through the city programs as well as the Chamber of Commerce. When I was campaigning in 2018 to have the privilege of serving as chair, I had a neighborhood chance encounter. I bumped into a LAM employee who I had met at one of those Tualatin Chamber meetings while she was out walking her neighborhood with her dog, a corgi, which I love. So we chatted a little bit more about LAM and her career and LAM's presence. But I want to add, for everyone's benefit, that as an elected official, I've never received any direct benefit from LAM. I say this because we have had a few people propagate false claims that we elected officials benefit from agreements like this. We don't. Rather, as elected officials serving our community, we work to support opportunities for everyone to prosper. LAM is a good company and a good community partner. Please don't close the doors. It's very hot in here. Thank you. As I was saying, LAM is a good company and a good community partner. Thank you to LAM, to all of the staff here today, as well as to those of you who are employed here and have a great presence here and being a good partner in our Washington County, Oregon community. You have much to be proud of, past, present, and into the future. I want to provide a big thank you to our staff, not only here at Washington County, but also to LAM and the city of Tualatin, as well as other expertise that has needed to be drawn on, for doing all of the advance work that has resulted in all of us, community and the Board of Commissioners, receiving this draft strategic investment program. That work has been done in a most significant way by all of those staff members. We were not in those non-disclosure agreement conversations to craft this, to craft the terms. I especially want to thank Erin Doyle of Washington County for providing her expertise, working in collaboration with others by leadership, her leadership in leading this effort to ensure that there is good information amongst all of the parties that she talked about, and that we had and her skills in professional negotiation and thoughtful, clear communication with this board. I apologize if I've made you feel comfortable, but we appreciate your uncomfortable, sorry, because we appreciate your skills. We cannot make decisions such as we are today without the benefit of having expert work. So thank you, Ms. Angie, Ms. Courtney Duke-Dreesen, and all of the staff here at the county, at the City of Tualatin, and at Lamb Research and other consultants we've needed. This agreement helps all of us together, succeeding together into our future. And with that, I would ask my colleagues for a motion to approve the Strategic Investment Program Agreement between Washington County, the City of Tualatin, and Lamb Research Corporation.
I move we approve the 2026 Strategic Investment Program Agreement between Washington County, the City of Tualatin, and Lamb Research.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Big hands to everyone. Well, we do have another large topic on today's agenda. As I spoke earlier in the meeting, we originally had a hard stop of 12:15 for today's meeting. Obviously, we're not going to make that because we have another topic. At this juncture, I would ask the board for a motion and approval to remove the second public communications section for today's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. That means for anyone who did wish to provide comment, please do so in writing. Next, we'll move on to our action item G1, and this is where I have to move aside all of my Lamb Research information.
And Chair, while you're doing that, Ms. Kyle, thank you. I just saw if you could help move people down the hallway so we can keep the doors open. And Chair, while you keep finding your information, I'm going to actually keep talking and update the board on our HVAC system. The part that we needed actually had to be made by the factory because it wasn't in stock at any factory house. The ship date is August 8th. Toasty month of August, so we can continue to monitor and try to keep the room cool beforehand today. And I know it is very hot up here under the lights. We have determined not to open the doors because of outdoor air quality is at the poor index, and so there is no win-win. So I apologize for anyone's discomfort, and especially the boards under the bright lights.
Thank you. Well, this is where I'm grateful for microphones and projection of the audio. Okay, well, we have a topic to move on to, a proposed ordinance number 917. And because of new guidance from the Oregon Ethics Commission, I need to provide some background comments and then ask for some board colleague participation. So Oregon Ethics is the foundation for what public officials may not use or try to use in their official positions. We may not use or try to use our positions to obtain a financial benefit for ourselves, our relatives, members of our households, or any business that upon which they, their relatives, or members of their households are associated. This means that we have to declare actual or potential conflict of interests. And there are consequences if we don't do so correctly. It's a little more complicated. When a public official is met with an actual conflict after disclosure, we as public officials are prohibited from any further discussion of the matter and from taking any action without supporting the appropriate disclosure. However, in 2025, the Oregon legislature amended ORS 244.120, providing an exception to actual conflicts of interest that allow public officials to vote on the adoption of local budget that includes compensation or benefits to public officials or their relatives. In addition to this new law, we now have new guidance from the Oregon Public Ethics Commission concerning disclosure and disposal of actual conflicts of interest related to general fees and charges that may also apply to the public officials considering or adopting such fees and charges. Phew. It all boils down to this, folks. We're in the job of having to make policy decisions and move actions, legislation forward. But with this new guidance, we're not allowed to talk about it, not even here in this public meeting. It is what it is. I don't think any of us like it because we like to be open and transparent with our community, but we're in the situation that we're in. So before I ask for a motion to read proposed ordinance 917 by title only, I need to turn to each of my colleagues and ask if you have an actual conflict of interest and to please declare so.
Chair, I have an actual conflict of interest because I and my family own vehicles that are registered in Washington County.
Chair, I have an actual conflict of interest. The conflict arises because the proposed vehicle registration fee would apply to me and my relatives who own vehicles registered in Washington County. Because this is an actual conflict of interest, I am recusing myself from any discussion of this matter.
I have an actual conflict of interest. The conflict arises because of the proposed vehicle registration fee would apply to me and my relatives who own vehicles registered in Washington County. Because this is an actual conflict of interest, I am recusing myself from any discussion of this matter.
Thank you, Chair. I have an actual conflict of interest. The conflict arises because the proposed vehicle registration fee would apply to me and my relatives who own vehicles registered in Washington County. Because this is an actual conflict of interest, I am recusing myself from any discussion of this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll go last. I have an actual conflict of interest. The conflict arises because the proposed vehicle registration fee would apply to me and my relatives who own vehicles registered in Washington County, Oregon. Because this is an actual conflict of interest, I will not be participating in any discussion of this matter. All right, and at this juncture, I need to ask for a motion to read proposed ordinance 917 by title only.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Clerk Moss, I need you to take the roll call, and once we have 3 votes in the affirmative or 3 against, then we need to stop voting.
All right. Thank you, Chair Harrington. Commissioner Fye?
No.
Commissioner Treese?
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Vice Chair Willie?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Duke-Dreesen, could you please read proposed ordinance 917 by title only?
Chair Harrington, our charter requires a motion to read by title only to be unanimous. Because we have 3 yeses and a no, I will need to read the ordinance in its entirety.
Thank you. But I misspoke about the first read. I'd also like the motion, so the persons who made the motion and the second, to conduct the first reading and set Tuesday, August 25th, 2026 as the date for the second reading and public hearing. Who made the motion?
I will make the motion to the amendments proposed.
Second.
Okay. Clerk Moss, could we do the roll call again?
Yeah. Commissioner Fye? Commissioner Treese?
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Vice Chair Willie?
Yes.
Thank you. Now,
Thank you, Chair Harrington. Chapter 3.14, the vehicle registration fee. Section 3.14010, short title. This chapter shall be known and may be pleaded as the vehicle registration fee of Washington County. Section 3.14020, authority. This ordinance is adopted pursuant to the authority granted by the Oregon Revised Statutes, ORS 801.040, 801.041, and 803.445. Section 3.14030, definitions. For purposes of this chapter, words in the present tense include future, the singular includes the plural, and the plural includes the singular. The word shall is mandatory and not directory, and the term chapter shall be deemed to include all amendments hereinafter made to this chapter. As used in this chapter, unless the context requires otherwise, the following words and their deviations shall mean. Subsection A, vehicle, shall have the meaning given in ORS 801-590. Subsection B, registration or register shall have the meaning given in ORS 801-410. Section C, motorcycle, shall have the meaning given in ORS 801-365. Subsection D, moped shall have the meaning given in section ORS, or be given in ORS 801-345. Section 3.14040, fee imposed exemptions. Subsection A, except as provided by this chapter, a vehicle registration fee is imposed on all vehicles registered within the state of Oregon Department of Transportation, and where the residential or business address on the application for registration or renewal of registration is located in Washington County. Subsection B, pursuant to ORS 801.041, subsection 3, a vehicle registration fee will not be imposed on the following. 1, snowmobiles and Class 1 all-terrain vehicles. 2, fixed load vehicles. 3, vehicles registered under ORS 805-100 to disabled veterans. 4, vehicles registered as antique vehicles under ORS 805-010. 5, vehicles registered as vehicles of special interest under ORS 805-020. 6, government-owned and operated vehicles registered under ORS 805-040 or 805-045. 7, school buses or school activity vehicles registered under ORS 805-050. 8, law enforcement undercover vehicles registered under ORS 805-060. 10, vehicles with registration weight of 26,001 pounds or as more described in ORS 803-420, subsection 14, subsection A or B. 11, vehicles registered as farm vehicles under the provisions of ORS 805-300. 12, travel trailers, campers, and motorhomes. 13, vehicles registered to an employment address as provided in ORS 802-250. And 14, vehicles registered under ORS 805-110 to former prisoners of war. Section 3.14050, amount and payment of fee, effective date. Except as provided in this chapter, At the time a vehicle is first registered or at the time of registration renewal, the applicant shall pay a county vehicle registration fee for each year of the registration period as follows. 1. July 1, 2018 to June 30th, 2027, $30 annual fee. July 1st, 2027 to June 30th, 2029, $40 annual fee. July 1, 2029 to June 30th, 2031, a $50 annual fee. 4, beginning on July 1st, 2031, effective until amended, a $60 annual fee. Subsection B, at the time of the motorcycle or moped is first registered or the time registration renewal, the applicant shall pay a county vehicle registration fee for each year of the registration as follows. 1, July 1 to 2018 to June 30th, 2027, $17 annual fee. 2, July 1, 2027 to June 30th, 2029, a $23 annual fee. 3, July 1, 2029 to June 30th, 2031, a $28 annual fee. 4, beginning July 1st, 2031, effective until amended, a $34 annual fee. Subsection C, at the time a trailer issued a permit registration as described in ORS 308-415, subsection 1, subsection C, is first issued, the applicant shall pay a vehicle registration fee of $10. D, the county vehicle registration fee is in addition to all other fees required to be paid that the state of Oregon under ORS 803-420. E, the fee shall be collected by the Oregon Department of Transportation on behalf of Washington County at initial registration occurring on or after July 1st, 2018, and at renewal registrations expiring on or before July 1, 2018. Section 3.14060, distribution to cities. Subsection A, the county will pay and distribute 40% of the monies collected to those incorporated cities having a population of more than 300,000 persons residing within the county. The distribution shall be based on each city's proportional share of the total number of Washington County residents residing within the incorporated cities as determined by the most recent reports on the Portland State University Population Research Center. Subsection B, all distributions under this provision shall be made after administrative fees are collected by the Oregon Department of Transportation and the county. Section 3.14070, agreement with the Department of Transportation. Pursuant to ORS 801-041, the county shall enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for the collection of the vehicle registration fee on behalf of Washington County. Section 3.14080, use of revenue. The county finance department or designee shall be responsible for the disposition of the revenue from the fee imposed by this chapter in the manner provided by this section. Subsection B, for the purposes of this section, net revenue means the revenue from the fee imposed by this chapter remaining after providing for the cost of collection, transfer, and administration by the Oregon Department of Transportation and the county. Subsection C, the net revenue of the fees collected under this chapter shall be used for purposes for which monies from registration fees may be used pursuant to state law. The net revenue received by the county shall be credited to the county road fund and shall be used for the capital improvement, maintenance, and operation of county roads. The net revenue received by the cities shall be used for road purposes as outlined in applicable state law regarding the expenditure of road user fees and taxes.
Thank you to our county council for reading that ordinance. At this juncture, we have a motion and a second that included conducting the reading of ordinance number 917 and setting August 25th, 2026 as the date for the second reading and public hearing. Clerk Moss, could you please take the roll on that motion?
Madam Chair, you did approve of the motion. You asked for the amendment by Commissioner Willie and then you voted on it.
Okay, I was confused that was the vote to read it by title only.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will proceed as intended. So at this juncture, we will not be holding the second public comment period for today, as we have canceled that. So next we have board announcements, and I have a few. For upcoming meetings, Thursday, August 6, 2026, as part of the Washington County Roundtable, we are first going to start with a joint executive session with the Washington County Board and the Clean Water Services Board pursuant to ORS 192.660 sub 2 sub F for the purposes of discussing exempt records. That will start at 9 and end no later than 10:30. At 10:30, we will reconvene as the Washington County Board of Commissioners for our roundtable meeting, and we will pause for a lunch break and continue that meeting at 1 p.m. After the lunch break, on Tuesday, August 11th, we will start our Washington County Board of Commissioners work session at 11 a.m., have a lunch break, and then continue that at 1 p.m. On Tuesday, August 18th, we'll have the Washington County Board of Commissioners work session starting at 9 a.m. We will pause that, reconvene as the County Board of Commissioners at 10 a.m., and then reconvene in our work session after a lunch break. Tuesday, August 25th, we have our afternoon work session for the County Board of Commissioners starting at 2 p.m., and then the county board meeting starting at 6:30 p.m. Obviously, we have exceeded our anticipated time for today's meeting. We will take a 45-minute break for lunch, which means that we will not be reconvening, let's just for ease, say 1:30, okay? So our work session will be starting a half an hour later than previously anticipated, that is. And so as commissioners know, on our calendars, our board meeting days are set from 9 to 5. So please make any adjustments that you need in order to participate in the board meeting, the work session for the remainder of the day till 5 o'clock, because we have a few important items on the agenda. Are there any other board announcements for today? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
So move.
All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. We're hereby adjourned. Thank you.